So in this video, we're going to talk about the effects of a tariff on consumer surplus and on producer surplus. So the point here is that this is basically going to be an extension of the last video where we were talking about the gains from trade in terms of consumer surplus and producer surplus. But in this video now we're going to be talking about the effects of a tariff and why economists think that tariffs are bad. So I already kind of gave you the punchline. Economists think that tariffs are bad. But we're going to go ahead and see why in terms of consumer surplus and producer surplus. So this first diagram is going to be the same diagram as the after picture in the last video. So this is just going to be the American market, and then we're going to have open trade. And I'm just going to say that the world price, P sub W, this is the world price. And let's say that we're talking about, toys again. So the world price for toys is $5. So if the world price for toys is $5, then the price in the US is going to be $5 because the US is not big enough to shift the entire world market in this example. So then the US is going to supply 100 toys, so this will be the quantity supplied, and it's going to consume 400 toys. So this will be the quantity demanded or consumed. And then we're going to go ahead and have a consumer surplus of this entire big triangle right here. And we're going to have a producer surplus of this little triangle down here. And the gains from trade in the US is going to be this triangle over here, because this is the part that we did not have before trade, because the US market in equilibrium would center at this price. It looks like about $11. And so we would have this whole triangle here would still be total surplus in the US without trade, but what we gain is the triangle that is left in black over here, this one that I'm going to go ahead and re-outline. These are the gains from opening up the American market to trade. So that's all review, but that's the starting point for this kind of story that I'm going to tell you. So I wanted to just go ahead and reiterate that, and I think it is good to have some review because it's kind of easy to get confused with, what are the gains from trade, and then what was the producer surplus before and the consumer surplus before, and all these things can kind of just get muddled pretty quickly. Okay, so this was with open trade, and that's the key point here, open trade. So in this diagram over here now, we're going to have a tariff of $5. So now we're going to have a $5 tariff. And we're going to leave the world price at $5 also. So first, just really quickly, a tariff is what is a tax that a nation imposes on any goods that it's importing. So here, the US is importing, let's go back to this before picture over here, this one that we're kind of using as a starting point for this video. The US is importing 300 toys. And that's just the difference between what the US consumes, the quantity demanded, and the US can supply, the quantity supplied, at the world price. So the US imports 300 toys. And so on those toys, we're going to go ahead and have to levy a $5 tariff, or a $5 tax. So the price for the world is still going to be this $5. But that's not the price that people pay in the US anymore. In the US, people pay $10 because they have to pay $5 for the world price, and then they have to pay a tariff. So this is the price that is paid domestically in the US. And I'm not even going to worry about the world price because it doesn't matter, because all we're looking at is the American market. So in the American market now, toys are $10 because we have to pay whoever is manufacturing these toys abroad $5, and then we have to pay the US government a $5 tariff. So what's going to happen in this market? And we're just going to go back and do the exact same kind of analysis that we did over here, except now we're going to have to use this purple line. So, and I'm going to go ahead and do it in purple to keep all the colors together. So the quantity supplied will be, it looks like 220 or something like that, but we don't really need exact numbers. We just want to tell the story right now. And the quantity demanded will be, it looks exactly like 300, maybe a little bit less. So the US will import, we will still import, let's say, 75 toys. So we will import 75 toys. But here's the difference. When we go to look at our consumer surplus, the consumer only receives the area above the price line and below demand. So this is now our new consumer surplus in the US. And our producer surplus in the US is the area below price and above supply. So it's this triangle over here. And so at this point I want to pause, and we can see that American consumers are worse off because of the tariff, because the green triangle on the right is smaller than the green triangle on the left. But American producers are helped by the tariff, because the yellow triangle on the right is bigger than the yellow triangle on the left. So those are two things that should be apparent really quickly. And I'm just going to go ahead and kind of recolor my sloppy coloring a little bit. I want to make very clear that that little bit is included in consumer surplus in the American market. So now we have to go talk about what is the loss from this tariff. So the first thing is that we're still importing 75 toys, and we're paying $5 for every one of those toys that we import. So this red box right here is government tariff revenue. So this is government, and I'm just going to write GOVT, government revenue, and I'm just going to write REV. So this value, this red box right here, this red rectangle, is not lost surplus. It's still, it's actually captured by the American government. What is lost, I'm going to go ahead and color in very bright blue. So this triangle right here, and this triangle right here, these are the losses in total surplus from a tariff. So this is a loss in total surplus due to tariff. So what happens is the tariff helps. I'm just going to write USA for American producers a little. And this is the key part, a little. But the tariff hurts, and I'm just going to write this above in a different color so you can see this. The tariff hurts American consumers a lot. And so the net effect, is, and I'm just going to write an arrow, the net effect is that this leads to a loss in total surplus. And that doesn't really write out well. There we go. A loss in total surplus. So as a whole, the tariff makes Americans, both consumers and producers taken together, worse off because they lose this triangle right here and this triangle right here. That's a loss in total surplus. So that's really all that I need to say about a tariff. You should have a super good grasp on all of these diagrams and be able to work with them, and be able to work with them in numbers. But I think it's easier to present them without numbers and just go through the picture and tell the story, because I think that's what makes the most sense to me, and I think it makes the most sense to you guys too. So in the next video, we're going to talk about a quota and how that can be almost exactly the same as a tariff and have the same effects. And I'll see you then.